Hello everybody, my name is Benjamin Wheeler, and welcome to tonight's edition of I'm Wasting Your Time. Thankfully, this is the last edition of this, where I will be reviewing Commander 2014. This is a part of the little flashback reviews where I'm going back on the sets I've skipped due to my lack of activity in Magic the Gathering or Highlander in general, righting my wrongs, and going through the cards that you've already seen, probably already decided whether or not you like them, but you know what, I'm gonna slap my opinion down on here. Let's get to it, shall we? Titania, Protector of Argoth. 5 mana, 5/3, legendary creature. When she ETBs, you return a land card from your graveyard to play. When a land you control is put into a graveyard from play, you get a 5/3 elemental. I'm a little attached to this card because I played this card in Legacy of all formats, but I do think this card is quite good. I think there are applications for this card. While narrow, she's pretty restricted to either lands decks, loam decks, or like mono green, like stompy mana denial decks. Maybe you throw her in like a red green, red black, or Jund land destruction list, but she's quite good when she is in a position where you can meet her needs. She's damn good. She gets value. You return, even if it's returning a fetch land. You get out another land. You get a 5/3 out of it. If you turn a wasteland off, forget about it. But I quite like this card, and I would like to find out whether or not she's actually played. Hallowed Spiritkeeper, 1 and double white for a 3/2 vigilance. When Hallowed Spiritkeeper dies, put X 1/1 white flying spirit tokens into play, where X is the number of creature cards in your graveyard. Many of you have probably seen this already played in Highlander because I think it's quite good, or you've seen it in Cube online. It's a 3-drop in white, so there's definitely a competitive slot there, but it has an ability that kind of reduces the effectiveness. I mean, not the effectiveness, but it at least kind of softens the blow of a Wrath of God or a Sweeper, which is something White Weenie is always looking to pick up. So this is definitely something that can contend for that slot, which you don't get to say that often. If a card comes out that could have a place in a specific White Weenie build, sure, it's going to get airtime, but something like this can go in pretty much any build and still have an effect. Like this card, if there's creature removal in the format, which there usually is, I'd play this card. Flesh Carver, 2 and a black for a 2/2 human wizard with Intimidate. Pay 1 and a black, sacrifice another creature, put 2 counters on him. When Carver dies, put an XX horror into play, with X being equal to his power. So I've gone on and on about Ancient Tomb aggro decks, and this guy can fit into Demon Stompy, Ride the Demon, blah blah blah. But he's really just a Zathrid Necromancer kind of Rotlung Reanimator creature with an evasion ability attached to it, as well as a sack outlet. So if you're playing, you can play him in something like, what's the word I'm looking for? The Aristocrats. You can play him in this kind of like Zombardment Shell, or you can just play him because he's a Rotlung Reanimator. He's going to replace himself. He's easy to cast. He can put down some, put some damage in early, and if they deal with him, well, they're going to have to deal with something else. Dualcaster Mage, 1 double red, 2/2 flash, human wizard. When he ETBs, copy target instant or sorcery spell. You may choose new targets for the copy. So this card isn't actually a mono red card. I mean, maybe people are playing him in mono red, and I'm sure he's fine in that because the effect is decent enough. But to me, this card just feels like a blue-red card. The only problem with that being is that the blue-red decks are usually using red as a supporting color, for burn and whatnot, doing things blue can't do, but who am I kidding? Things blue can't do. But anyways, back to the card. I really want to see this card alongside stuff like Riptide Laboratory, Snapcaster Mage, that kind of stuff. He's got this tempo-ish feel to him, and his effect is strong, but you wouldn't play... People usually aren't going to play Fork by itself, right? I'd like to see this card see some light, and I'm sure he has. Containment Priest, aka the best card in this set. 2 mana 2/2, flash, human cleric. If a non-token creature would ETB and it wasn't cast, exile it instead. Goodbye Aether Vial, So Long Reanimator, Sayonara Show and Tell Oath of Druids kind of decks. I'm sure there are other things I'm missing, but I really like this card quite a lot. Genesis Wave can go suck it. It's quick, it's aggressive. This is an auto-include in White Weenie. I would certainly play it in blue-white tempo decks, blue-white-red tempo decks. You know, Flash just makes it insane. And, you know, maybe even there's a room for it in control shells. I don't know. Again, best card in the set, really powerful ability, really flexible, and good artwork, actually. Moving on, Song of the Dryads. 2 and a green. Enchantment, it's an aura. Enchanted permanent is a colorless forest land. It's green removal. Somewhere Morrow is rolling over in his grave. God, may his soul rest in peace. But really, to me, this card is just a card for Enchantress. A little narrow, of course, but I can't really see any other archetype looking to slap this in. In Enchantress, you don't actually care that they happen to get another land. Obviously, triggers your Enchantress effects. It's easy to cast. It's removal. It deals with planeswalkers. Yeah, those are the applications for this card. Maybe it sees play in something else like Bant Control, but I really can't see that being the case. So I'd stick this in Enchantress solely. Volcanic Offering, 4 and a red, instant, destroy target non-basic land you don't control, and target non-basic land of an opponent's choice you don't control. Volcanic Offering deals 7 damage to target creature you don't control, and 7 damage to target creature of an opponent's choice you don't control. So, I mean, realistically, it's just 5 mana, destroy a non-basic land, and kill a creature, and to me, that's not bad. It only has 1 colored mana symbol, so again, Ancient Tomb, hello. You can ramp this out pretty quickly, start wreaking some havoc. And even if you're playing it in like a land destruction deck, that effect is nothing to shy at. It's a little narrow, and honestly, out of all the cards, it was the one that I was thinking most of putting into the sideboard section, but I think it has applications. Malicious Affliction, double black for Doomblade, but wait, there's more. Morbid. If a creature died, you may copy Malicious Affliction and choose a new target for the copy. So you don't want to play this in a control shell because you already have your pick of the litter for removal, and why would you want a Doomblade that's harder to cast? And Morbid isn't reliably going to be triggered in those kind of decks, unless by Lingering Souls tokens or a Trinket Mage or a Wall of Omens has decided that it's blocked enough in its lifetime. But I rather see this in something such as like a mono-black aggro list, mono-black mid-range, or a black-green aggro, black-green mid-range. Wouldn't want to see it paired in a black deck paired with red, as you just have better removal. But something where you can really take advantage of the Morbid and not be too upset. Maybe you'd see play in the Aristocrats along with Captain Flesh Carver and Sergeant Hallowed Spiritkeeper over here. But I like the card. I mean, actually no, I don't like the card, but I think it's worth looking at. With removal being so flexible as to what you want to target. You know, you have your pick of the litter, and I would certainly consider this one. Comeuppance. 3 and a white. Prevent all damage that would be dealt to you and planeswalkers you control this turn by sources you don't control. If damage from a creature source is prevented this way, Comeuppance deals that much damage to that creature. If damage from a non-creature source is prevented, Comeuppance deals that much damage to the source's controller. This is the ultimate fuck you for Cradlehoof. I don't even know how to format the rage I felt when I first saw this card. Because this is one of the few cards that I managed to see in action in Highlander when it came out. Tilted me right the fuck out. But you can't deny it's got applications. And I'm sorry if I'm saying that word over and over again, but really this is what these commander sets are. You know, there are these cards that have these neat effects that might be somewhat narrow, but there's always a home for them in Highlander. except for you 8 mana, 9 mana instants and sorceries. Those can fuck right off. But this card is really good. I like it quite a lot in control decks. That's really all I can see play in. Maybe Turbo Fog, but that list will sorely be missed. Moving on. Teferi, Temporal Archmage, 4 in double blue, 5 loyalty, +1. Look at the top 2 cards of the library. One of them goes in your hand, one on the bottom. So it's +1's a sleight of hand. -1, untap up to 4 target permanents. Usually mana rocks, mostly Time Vault, I hope. That's one of the real reasons why I've included this guy in here. And then -10, you get an emblem with you may activate loyalty abilities of planeswalkers you control on any player's turn, anytime you could cast an instant. That is so cool. I doubt you're ever going to do that because you're probably just going to start time vaulting away. But I really like that ability. And, I mean, he doesn't necessarily protect himself, which is kind of a downside. I wouldn't slam this guy in every blue deck, and maybe he's not even good enough because he can't go infinite. He'll eventually run out of loyalty. But I do like this card. I don't think the planeswalkers in this set are really hard to judge. They're all like ones that you want to play them because they're new planeswalkers and they're monocolored and they have these neat effects, but they might not make the cut. I think Teferi makes the cut, but pick your battles with them. Daretti, Scrapped Savant, 3 in a red, 3 loyalty, +2. Discard up to 2 cards, then draw that many cards. So you got card selection in red. It's going with the whole you have to discard them before doing anything theme that has been so common with red nowadays. But you know what? That's fine. He's got -2, sacrifice an artifact. If you do, return target artifact card from your graveyard to the battlefield. His -2 is trash for treasure. Shout out to Brett Frankson. That's a perfectly fine thing in stacks where I assume you're going to be wanting to play this guy. Or like mono... I mean, specifically in something like a mono red stacks or mud, like mono brown, brown town with a light splash of red, just cuz. That ability's kind of neat. And then his -10, which you probably will never get to, but hey, if you do, you get an emblem with whenever an artifact's put into the graveyard from the battlefield, return that card to the battlefield at the beginning of the next end step. So hey, it combos with Mindslaver. You got that going for you. I like this card. Again, narrow applications to it. Sorry. But I think where it's good, it's great. And I swear to God, if my cat does not stop meowing. Anyways, we're done with the playables. Let's move on to the... We have Masterwork of Ingenuity. It's a 1-mana equipment. You may have Masterwork of Ingenuity, ETB, as a copy of any equipment on the battlefield. So, I like that you can find it with Trinket Mage, but, I mean, you can copy a sword with it, what's kind of nice. You can copy Skull Clamp and whatnot. You can't copy GT, that's a little unfortunate. Batterskull, that's kind of cool. But, I'm not a huge fan of these, you have to have some, like, it relies on you having something. It's nice that it's as you cast. It's you may enter the battlefield. Oh boy. Okay, never mind. I mean, maybe play it if you're really keen on equipment. But other than that, it's just save those slots for other things. Feldon of the Third Path, the Feldon himself, the man with the cane. 1 in double red for a 2/3 human artificer. 2 in a red, tap, put a token onto the battlefield that's a copy of target creature in your graveyard, except it's an artifact in addition to its other types. It gains haste, sacrifice it at the beginning of the next end step. Really cool effect, certainly a powerful effect, but it's a little too cute, he's a little too slow, there are too many things that you have to set up. And he's super vulnerable. And he's double red, which, I mean, I guess he goes with Daretti. He's in the Daretti deck. But I don't think this guy is Highlander playable. Myriad Landscape. It's a bad Crosan Verge, and Crosan Verge isn't very good. Moving on. Nixilis of the Black Oath. 3 in double black, 3 loyalty. +2, each opponent loses 1 life, so your one opponent will lose 1 life and you gain 1 life. -2, put a 5/5 demon token into play with flying, you lose 2 life. So this is why you would even consider playing this guy, because you slam him down, he's a planeswalker, you get a 5/5 demon, great, you lose 2 life, whatever, that's fine. You get a 5/5 for 5, that flies, and then you have this dude that sticks around slowly whittling them down. Then his -8 is you get an emblem with pay 1 into black, sacrifice a creature, you gain X life and draw X cards where X is a sacrificed creature's power. You're never doing that, who are you kidding? The reason I didn't want to include him as playable is mostly just because it's a little lackluster what he does. The demon can get, like, if the demon's gone, it's gone forever because it's a token, and then he's incredibly vulnerable, his plus doesn't do anything, and just, I can't find a shelf for this guy. Speaking of that, Nahiri the Lithomancer, 3 in double white, 3 loyalty, +2, put a 1/1 white core soldier creature token onto the battlefield, you may attach an equipment you control to it. So she technically defends herself, but it's a 1/1 on 5 mana. The equipment thing is cute, but it requires you have an equipment. But don't worry, the -2 is you may put an equipment card from your hand or graveyard onto the battlefield. Usually, you would have done that before, because most equipment that you're playing in this format costs 3, 2, or 1, or 5, I guess. But Batterskull, that's a whole different breed of bad design. So that's kind of cute. -10, put a colorless equipment artifact token named Stoneforged Blade onto the battlefield. It has indestructible, and equipped creature gets +5/+5, has double strike, and equips 0. Okay, that's probably cooler than Teferi, maybe. I mean, it's more Timmy than Teferi, but getting to 10? No. Your time is better spent on Gideons. Anyways. Freyalise, the image that doesn't load. There we go. 3 in double green for a 3/3. +1, you get a 1/1 green elf druid token that taps to add a green to your mana pool. So she protects herself, and those little dudes happen to be Llanowar elves. That's kind of neat, but that's not super great. -2, destroy target artifact or enchantment. Hey, that's good. People like destroying artifacts. People like destroying enchantments. -6, draw a card for each green creature you control. There are a lot of planeswalkers in green. Most of them are Garriks. But you can look past that, and you realize that this card's pretty crap. I've wanted this card to be playable. Trust me, Lord knows I've tried to fit him in green shells, but it always just seems wrong. If you're going to play this card, it's probably going to be in, like, a Cradlehoof list that is heavy on the planeswalkers. I'm talking every Garrick. You're playing Nissa. You're playing her. You got Karn. You got Ugin. I think that's it. You know, you're really going ham on those planeswalkers, but other than that, she's just too underwhelming. And I think that summarizes Commander 2014 pretty nicely, if I can say so myself. Anyways, folks, that has been my Canadian Highlander throwback set review. I hope you enjoyed this one. I certainly didn't. And if you did enjoy this, feel free to like the video, comment on it, subscribe to it, do all that jazz, share it with everybody. Join the Highlander Facebook page, check out the WordPress, and look for some more projects with the young Adam Price in the near future. Thank you for listening and watching.
Thank you for watching, and if you like that, be sure to subscribe to our channel for more hidden gems, set reviews, deck techs, and much more. Also be sure to follow our Canadian Highlander Facebook page, and check out our newly updated website at canadianhighlander.wordpress.com. Links for our various podcasts will also be included in the description below. Thanks again, and feel free to leave any questions, comments, or concerns, and one of the council members will be sure to answer as best as they can. And remember, folks, there can be only one.